I'd like you to welcome, please, the Managing Director of the Bibby Line Group, Sir Michael Bibby.
Thank you, Declan.
And welcome, and that's quite a range of businesses that you're involved in. How much of that was a strategic plan and how much of it was just a happy accident, taking advantage of opportunities as they presented themselves?
How long have you got?
Until 11:30.
Back in '85, we had about £22 million of turnover. We had about 13 million of shareholder funds, and we were losing £4 million a year. So we were nearly bankrupt. Today, we've got about 1.7 billion pounds of turnover. We're operating in 22 countries, about 6,500 people. So we've recovered really well. But we learned the lessons that we were in a cyclical market with a single product focus in shipping, and we couldn't survive those storms back in the mid-80s. So we took a strategic decision, or my father did with the business at that time, to diversify. We diversified, first of all, into financial services and distribution, and we grew that business throughout the 90s, and then took a further round of diversification in 2000s to expand and grow. Largely driven by the shareholder base. We're a family company. We're 90% still owned by my brothers, sisters, mum and our kids through a family trust. And we try and take a spread of risk by investing in different areas, as well as growing our wealth for the future.
Doesn't that family ownership actually hold back your growth? We're here today talking about fast growth. If you don't have shareholders, there are limitations on how much capital you can secure to grow the business.
That's right. I mean, there's three really different factors we found. Firstly is access to further equity. We've kept a very tight hold on equity at the holding company, so we've not introduced private equity or other people into that. So we've had to fund most of our debt through retained profits and financing. There's also risk. I think we can be reasonably conservative on our risk front in terms of the risks we take on. And then there's personal factors as well, because individuals tend to have more influence, and you don't want to bet the ranch on when it's all your own money.
But you'll be aware of the conventional wisdom. It is that if you want to grow quickly, you will give up some of that control. You will bring in outside investors, and you have chosen not to.
Well, I think we grew. I mean, if you take our financial services business in the 1990s and to date, it's grown at, in the 90s it grew at, the market was growing at 17% per annum. This is basically debt factoring in the UK to SMEs. I mean, today we do 50% of, 1 in 5 deals of all debt factoring deals done in the UK will be with Bibby Financial Services. So we're still growing this business really fast. We're specialising in different areas like construction finance. We've got a fintech product, which I know Chris knows very well. And we are trying to react very quickly to our customers' changing needs. Now, to finance this, we've been very lucky. We've managed to have very strong bank support in our growth phase, so we could grow at 30% per annum when the market was growing at 17%.
So you don't think you've been held back at all?
Well, we have.
By your structure?
We haven't, but we've had to limit then how fast we could go into international expansion, because we use the cash base from the UK to grow internationally. We're now in 15 countries. But we've taken a very different approach to growth than we would say if we were a bank. So we went to Barclays when we first wanted to go overseas and said, how do we do this? And they said, it takes 3 years to go and look at a new country. You've got to assess all the risks, the debt, the law. And so we said, well, to pardon the expression, sod that. We've got a budget of £350,000. We'll check the market's big enough. We'll check we can factor the debt. We'll find the people to do a start-up. We'll give them £350,000 to burn in losses at the start and let them get on with it. Today we're in, as I said, sort of 16 countries, and every region is profitable and has been growing very fast. So you can adapt. You do things differently to adapt to changing market needs.
I mentioned another bit of conventional wisdom in the opening remarks, which is this thought that being family owned makes you more longer term in your decision making process. Is that actually how it works out in practice?
Well, I chair the Institute of Family Business Research Council, and we just decided our next piece of in research is going to be into what the hell does long-term mean? Because I think there is a conventional wisdom that we're investing for the next generation of the family, and therefore that's a 30, 40-year horizon. But in reality, all our actual investments decisions are done on business cases, the same as any other business, and you're looking at sort of a 5, 10-year time frame max. The advantage we have is we're not responding to quarterly profit targets, so we can take decisions which are in the best interests of the shareholders, as opposed to just what is going to affect our share price in the next quarter. And that makes a real difference, particularly when you came, say, into the recession in 2008-9, where we could actually continue growing our factoring book, for instance, at 20%, while the banks were all cutting back. We could actually keep lending in each country while the banks retrenched to the UK. So we can take longer term decisions. We can invest in things like ships and warehouses on a longer term basis than perhaps a PLC can.
Does longer term mean a smaller appetite for risk?
I think, no, it doesn't. It means a different approach to risk. Longer term for us is we need the stability. We will spread our risk. We will manage risk well every time we take it. But I think as a family business, you can take decisions. It's not done by committee. Well, it is done by committee. I've got my chairman here, so I better watch what I'm saying.
Just try to make him feel included.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul. It's a much smaller group of people who can take decisions, are prepared to put their individual sort of reputation on the line. We try and foster risk in a different way. A PE house will actually incentivise people to take risks by promising huge sums if they get it right and taking it all away if they don't. We try and create a sort of family atmosphere where it's safe to take risks. There isn't a blame culture. As long as you learn, as long as you manage them as best you can, then take risks and you're encouraged to do it. If you don't take risks, you won't grow. I mean, all the fast-growing, medium-sized businesses here will be sitting there probably concerned about all the risks they've taken in the last 5 years and just hoping to God that they all pay off. But at least they're taking them. Don't take any risks that bet the ranch. Take risks to always look forward to how you're going to develop your business. So, for example, we've got new businesses like Veris 360, which is a fintech funding business, in response to attacks on our financial services market. We've got a new survey business that we do mapping the seabed for Bibby hydromap, for wind farms, cable and oil and gas business. We just developed a new survey system. We keep pushing them to do what are you going to do to respond to the market in 5 years' time? What are you planning now and what are you trying out now to actually do it? And you can do that in a private company, which perhaps you can't do so easily in a PLC because you're too afraid that it'll be a waste of money and go wrong.
I've got a few more things to ask you, but I also want to give everyone an opportunity to ask Sir Michael a question if they want to do so as well and to join in this discussion. So do put your hand up if you have a question for Sir Michael. There's one over there. If you just keep your hand up, sir, until we get the microphone to you and then tell us who you are and who you represent.
Hi, Andrew Mawson, Advanced Workplace Associates. My question is really about the culture in your organisation and the degree to which this sort of culture that you've described is a contributor to the longevity of the business, but also in comparison with the kind of cultures and hierarchy and formality and power structures we see in PLCs. How much do you think being out of the PLC world has kind of helped you to retain the right people and have the right culture for that kind of evolution?
I've been out. I used to work for Unilever many years ago, so I'm probably not the best person to compare to PLCs. But I think our culture is vitally important. I mean, we're just doing a refresh on our values. They are a real key for our shareholders and our board and our people. We have a very strong retention rate for all our senior management and employees. It gets more and more difficult, though, the larger you get, to make sure that culture is embedded right the way through the organisation. Because each level of management, we have a very delegated approach. So we will always try and pass responsibility and authority down as close to the customer as we can. in all our businesses, and we try and deliver a personal, responsive and flexible customer service. But to do that, you have to trust your management. And I think that's what this corporate governance versus trust, it tends to be weighted a bit more to the corporate governance in a PLC type institution. And we are fighting as hard as we can to stop that happening in our organisation, because it's so easy when something goes wrong to put another level of controls and another level of management in, when actually it comes back to that training, development of your people and trusting them to get on with them. They're grown adults who are responsible and want to do the best. And I think that's probably the difference in private v PLC, that actually you can afford to trust people a little more. And that comes back to your culture, your values and where you operate.
Yeah, though as Reagan said to Gorbachev, trust but verify.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm an accountant by training. I like to see the controls, the KPIs and all that management best practice, but it's not to stop people doing it. Let people do them and use that to make sure that they're telling you the truth.
Okay, we'll take some more if we have them. If you put your hand up, we'll get a microphone to you, and then you can ask your question or make your observation. I'm not seeing any hands. If your hand is up and I'm just not seeing it, then feel free to shout out. Thank you. You've got sharper eyes than I do.
Hi, Susie Noah, Sunday Express, and I run a finance blog. How friendly an environment do you think the UK is for businesses? I mean, it didn't seem like there was a lot of help for business in the autumn statement. You know, I mean, what's your take on things like business rates? What would you like to see?
I'm quite clear on my relationship with government, and I'm not speaking for the CBI or our chairman on this. I'm speaking on a personal basis.
He can speak for himself.
Yeah, exactly. For me, what I really want government to do is give decisions and stick by them well in advance. If they give me clarity of what they're doing, I can adjust my plans and my business to react to that. So, for example, the climate change conference currently ongoing, some clarity over offshore wind farm development in the North Sea would be really, really good for our investments in all our offshore energy and oil and gas and other businesses. So we are planning to invest reasonable sums of money to develop that area, but it does need to get clear support from the government, and not just words, but actually get the funding in the long term in place. In terms of Northern Powerhouse, we're based in Liverpool. We see a massive opportunity if the EU-US trade agreement comes in to develop the whole infrastructure throughout the northwest. Liverpool's the closest port effectively to New York to develop trade. But we need some clarity over what's happening and some more than just words, some actions behind targeting how we can develop the whole region.
Northern Powerhouse is just a nice way of saying Liverpool does what Manchester tells it.
It's a very strange interpretation, as I understand it. The Northern Powers isn't just Liverpool, Manchester. Of course, it goes from Liverpool to Hull. It's, I think, to be honest, it's a concept at the moment. It needs to get some teeth, and we need to have an integrated planning and investment package throughout that north to really work out what trade routes are going to really develop as a result of that of changing trade patterns, and then put some real investment behind them. That still needs to be developed, and we need a unified voice for all the politicians in the north, and to talk to London to get the funding to do that. And we need probably someone like the CBI to come in and help us do that, because there ain't a body really to do it at the moment.
Thinking back on the decisions that you've made over the years and the lessons you've learned from them, one thing you'd do differently?
I'd probably get better people in quicker. When you're growing a business, you're always so worried about your cost base, and you don't want to delegate control because you know you're the best guy to do it. I can see some smiling faces when I say that.
I'm just wondering how long your chairman has been your chairman.
Well, he's only just started, actually, because we're getting a mistake. We should have got him in earlier. But I mean, getting good people in earlier and actually being prepared to delegate responsibility and spend more to get the best people in quicker. It works every time.
So, Michael Bibby, thank you very much.
Thank you.